So, I'm watching the City of Angels. There's no the. Anyway, yeah, strange movie. Um, anyway, before more generalized commentary, I must say, some point there's a bunch of babies, and a nurse says that one of them doesn't have insurance. Like that is the most absurd sort of thing in societies now, isn't it? Baby doesn't have insurance. Babies and insurance. Yeah, it makes very little sense, does it? Well, what can they do exactly? Um, the that is truly the signal that the society has failed utterly, right? But anyway, with regards to the movie itself, yeah, it was interesting. I had never heard of it. I thought it's an obvious play on Los Angeles, and I liked it generally. It has an unconventional ending, I suppose. Although, suppose I don't know. Supposed to have been more conventionally sort of romantic, if they just simply kept living together. But you know, it was sort of strange the way it happened, though. It's like I mean, what do you expect if you close your eyes while you're cycling? And so some people can take their hands off. But you know what? I'll sort of allow it because I don't know, just I mean, I guess early on in love, one's brain is a bit fuzzy and all that. Unlike, say, giving in to psychopaths and just somehow changing your movie to soothe their idiotic psychopathy, like a certain other movie, but I'm not even mentioning it because it's completely irrelevant and I've already commented on it at any rate, completely relevant. So I'm just saying, with this movie, with regards to this movie, yeah, it's interesting. The only thing I had an issue with is that they just arbitrarily showed, surgical images just randomly, like after she told him to leave her the first hurdle. They just showed one for very little time. I have no idea why they thought, yeah, let's just show her cutting someone open with blood all over. Why not? I mean, it's not even a surgical sort of movie. I mean, sure, she's a surgeon of some sort, but it can be pretty gruesome in that sense. But otherwise, as a romance, it works quite well. I mean, sure, Cage comes across as a bit creepy, beginning especially, but then it sort of settles in. What I like best though is indeed their descriptions, like they said themselves, about how Ernest Hemingway described his life in his autobiography. They did describe a lot of things that, yeah, how, so it's the concepts, like mostly. Now, as opposed to the likes of, and I'm only mentioning it because I just watched it yesterday, so it's not that it's very relevant as well, but it also had novel concepts in this sense, like this, trying to co- grapple with, what if angels really existed and they really lived in some sort of other dimension, but they didn't really have wings, etc., like they did here. Um, but yeah, on the other hand, The Last Witch Hunter, as I said, I'm not mentioning it because I've just watched it, also had novel concepts, but it didn't really do quite a lot about them. It didn't quite make a powerful story, whereas this did. That's the difference, I think. I mean, it wasn't too powerful, and as I said, since it was gruesome, it just sort of held that back a bit. But in terms of it even had a bit of comedy, which I liked. It came across as genuine, not just idiotic one-liners that so many movies have. That actors just throw around like you know for some reason, whatever reason. Most movies have that, but I mean, there wasn't exactly. This is not a comic movie, but in terms of how he interacted, like when he first fell and started to talk with the workmen. Oh, that was comic because they obviously assumed that he was in some sort of altered state, not just. It's not like he tried to explain or anything, but watching it in context, the assumption that he was an angel and then he fell. They also gave, I guess, a new definition to fallen angel as a concept in itself. So one sort of ends up assuming whether I'm wondering whether Lucifer was actually in love, huh? Since he's the most well-known fallen angel. Also, I'm not sure why they gave Cassiel such a prominent part because apparently Cassiel isn't even I don't think he's even like a, he appears in extra canonical works, even magical works. Seven Archangels and Angel of Saturn. So not quite attenuate a central sort of canonical angel. Yeah. Of course, when angels are mentioned, I cannot help but go back to Evangelion, which also gives another concept to angels in the sense they're more, well, yes, they are mechanical, but not quite so much, and more about well, I guess it would be a spoiler if I said so. Uh, but yeah, at any rate, I do sort of like. I mean, I am not at all religious, but I really don't mind when movies or any sort of art, any sort of media plays around with concepts. 'Cause, it could be anything ultimately. Sure enough, if delirious people see what they think are angels, well, you can just say it's delirium, of course. But yeah, sure. In a movie, movies can be about anything. So sure enough, make create a context for it, create a narrative, and there we go. As far as this narrative goes, it's not like it explores, the depths of what this other dimension could be, but it still explores what this, how creatures from this other dimension could hypothetically, important words, could hypothetically interact with creatures from the mortal realm and in fact fall in love with them as well. And of course, there we go. It's another, falling, falling, another falling. And then of course, the other falling, you know, falling into a truck. Yeah, so it's interesting, certainly. Meg Ryan, of course, I have seen her in You've Got Mail, which I've commented on before. Now that is not supernatural at all, but in a way, well, I like both really. Um, Nearly equally, I don't know. That had more comedy, so whereas this had more supernatural in it, whereas the other one didn't have at all. But then You've Got Mail didn't have any gore either, essentially. So in a way, that's better because of that, but not so much better because I do like supernatural whatever, just playing with concepts, I do like that. Whereas You've Got Mail was more conventional, I suppose. It's adapted from an old romantic story, but yeah, she does play romance as well. Of course, it's not from the same director though, so slightly different tangent, but yeah, still they're both interesting. Yeah. Um,